in the upper left here. In the blue, he is for the super team. He is eGGz.
And in the bottom right, he's had his opponent's number for quite a while from the Cranky Ducklings. He is Erik. And look at this. Erik already going for that quick old extractor trick into the very, very fast hatchery. Just, you know, a little move you can do to try and get an advantage. And I'm trying to recall off the top of my head, but I know there was actually a test done where players actually saw how much of an economic advantage you got from the extractor trick. And I think it was pretty negligible, if I'm not wrong.
Actually, you don't. There's a reason that we did see players, yes, at the start of Legacy, which, what, 6 years ago at this point, you saw the 16, you saw 14 supply, double cancel, go up to 16, then build your Overlord. But that's not where you go anymore because it is actually inefficient. But the reason Erik is doing this, and by the way, this is a LATAM Zerg special. The Zerg Lord does it, Erik does it. It's just a little different, but this is not necessarily a supremely aggressive opener with the 14 hatch, with the double cancel. Or the 16 hatch, I guess. 15 hatch. Instead, this keeps you safe from a lot of shenanigans. Notice your double queen off the lings. You're not going... If this was an aggressive opening, say Scarlet's build that she used to kill Rogue, and then she had a really cool, even stronger version that she failed to kill Reyna with in Katowice, that build, it only gets one queen. Or it gets no queens, and it just floods lings across, and you're spending all your money on getting as many Zerglings as possible. But Erik, he just gets his queens out a little bit faster in this build. He gets his lings across the map a little sooner, but he does take that economic hit. As we can see right now, he's down a drone.
Yeah. And it is just, I think, a lot of respect being shown to the fact that he knows that, you know, eGGz, he can rush him. There's absolutely a chance that he gets cheesed, and so he's going to do a build that he is comfortable with in getting an early expansion, but also gives him that safety. So really the greed isn't as much greed. Now, this is a cool development, as that's a Roach Warren being put down at 242.
Just a little bit early there from my boy Erik. Now, of course, you can always look at two ways. Realistically, early Roach Warren almost always means early aggression, and couple that the fact that he is still mining gas here and doesn't pull anything off, so that tells you we're going to have some level of aggression. But already we're seeing significant... Sorry?
Sorry, I just noticed the fact that eGGz, he hasn't actually gotten gas until just now, and is throwing down also an early Roach Warren.
Nah, that's Gastel's opening. You're just going to go into +1 for Roaches with that one. But the big deviation here we're seeing from traditional meta as a Ling, gets in, but not far enough. The Queen doing a good job from Erik with the last spine. But we're seeing, again, significant deviation here. Any other region, including, say, Scarlet in NA, we'd have a third base by now for both these players. We would be there. Also, by the way, I want to point this out before the game really gets started in earnest. Massive shout out to the developer of the Observer Plus mod, or whatever mod we're using, that we can see where the players are looking on the minimap.
Oh, yeah.
Like, isn't that... It's brand new for this event, and it is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice just to be able to know sometimes where the attention is, as we are going to have the first few lings here push. And this is this kind of a distraction here from Erik. Actually, he's going to deny. Gets the drone as well. But he's trying to distract from the fact that, yeah, I actually have more units coming across the map. This looked fairly normal until suddenly there are roaches at your third, and eGGz. Well, what do you even have to defend this? I think you just have to give up that third base.
Yeah, you absolutely have nothing, and because he's been mining gas for so long, he's got 4 Ravagers. This base, it's a kill, not even a cancel. So that's a bit of a problem. We have a wall popping up here, but eGGz, I mean, he's going for +1. He's going for things that last a little bit longer into this game. Unfortunately for him, it doesn't matter what lasts longer in the game. What matters is what happens right now. Lings continue to spill on in. Biles drop, +1 will not be allowed to survive, not all that long. And Erik, he's just waiting for things. Surprisingly enough, eGGz got even speed, but it really does not matter here. Biles dropping down on top of all the roaches, forcing him back. And that should be the end of the Evo Chamber. There we go. So +1 will be denied. Everything that eGGz has invested into in this game, well, it's kind of like the stock market right now. It's really not bearing fruit.
Yeah, I mean, the cancel on that +1 is so annoying. The Roach Warren also getting killed means that right now eGGz, he's not going to have those additional roaches. He did a good job to hold on, But again, the issue is you haven't been able to really push back your opponent just now. These Lings, though, might be able to get a surround on these Ravagers, and that'd be a massive catch here for eGGz. More Lings coming from Erik to try and reinforce, and that'll be just enough to save those very costly Ravagers.
That it is. Of course, we got to pay attention to the fact Ravagers, they're fantastic units. They have longer range. They drop steaming vials of something on people's heads. It's a good time. But they're really squishy. Now, against, say, Marauders or something that you would traditionally build to counter Roaches, they do a little better because they lack the armor tag. But in general, they're a little bit squishier. We got a fight happening on the left side, but it's just a couple Lings. It's going to be fine. But of course, again, if those Roaches, they can get on top of the Ravagers, it is bad news bears for Erik. But where do we stand now? Third base on the way for Erik. Third base on the way for eGGz as well. If we look at resources lost, that's the not pretty thing. The base went down. A bunch of Roaches have died. It's 38 Lings and 1 Ravager. The only price that Erik has had to pay for his unfettered aggression in the early game.
Yeah, it's a rough position here as the blue Zerg of eGGz, but the one saving grace is that if he buys enough time here, and he's actually trying to be a little bit aggressive with these Lings, just get some space, he is working on double upgrades, and that's one advantage that he has right now over Erik, is the fact that if time is given, he will have that one upgrade advantage, and that it doesn't make a massive difference, but in the case where you're fighting Roach versus Roach and the numbers are close enough, that can be enough to shift an entire fight.
Now that again, it's really interesting. We look at how upgrades work in different matchups, specifically in different mirrors. So TVT, for example, I mean, Titan, you're going to be the first to tell me just how impactful even a single upgrade is in that matchup. I mean, Marines, they only have 55 HP. They fire stupid fast. It matters. But in a Roach fight, not nearly as much. They tack a lot slower. The HP is higher. It really, the +1 armor, you get it because it does make a difference, but it's not going to be the game deciding thing.
Yeah, it's going to help, but eGGz really needs to actually catch up. In this case, he's down 20 army supply right now, is working on that +2. But again, these upgrades, they're not going to help. If you're right now down about six Roaches and you don't have as many Ravagers, this army just trades so much more efficiently for Erik, as he already even gets a kill with a Bile here. And eGGz, you had the defender's advantage, but it just does not feel like it matters.
Defender's advantage only matters if you have stuff. Oh, the link flag on the backside, trapping a bunch of these Roaches as well. Looks like we got a bit of a run by into the natural of Erik, but it does not really matter because the third base goes down. And again, my friend Titan, this is the story of StarCraft. More stuff, it beats less stuff. And in this case, Erik, he absolutely has more stuff here. Third base falls for a second time. And 2 Roaches on the backside, or 2 drones on the backside, really does not make that happen. But ooh, got a bit of a flank here. eGGz is trying to make something happen. He's going to get on top of these Ravagers to start. He's got 1. He's got 2. Is this going to be enough here with the upgrade advantage to force his opponent back? No, it's not. Erik takes game 1.
It was a valiant effort, but yeah, just the numbers come through for Erik there, and that, I mean, we see why you do the safe opening. It's a matchup that he's confident, and he knows that his macro is definitely enough to be able to take that series, and he really plays it well. I think you can trace that all back to not canceling the third for eGGz, losing just straight up 300 minerals that early in the game. Even though he survived, he wasn't able to recover, and I think it all really came down to that.
I mean, any mirror is just such a game of razor thin margins. There's just this balancing act of how much can I get away with, how much can I not? And in a game where you have access to the exact same tech path, the exact same build orders, the exact same everything, making sure that you stay equal in everything as you can is so important. So losing that, even if it wasn't killed, even if it was only canceled, losing the third base, losing that mining opportunity, and in ZVZ, losing the unit production capabilities that you lose for that third base, I mean, and that is such a hard position to come back from. And it's not like this was a game where, say, eGGz had asynchronous tech, so he had mutas, and that can maybe balance out some lacking elsewhere.
Yeah, it was just a situation where when that damage happened so early, I mean, we saw he tried to push the upgrade advantage, but even then, that's counteracted by he doesn't have as many units, and then that's enough to shift the game for Erik. So it was really trying to play a balance where you were never going to be able to put enough on your side to even it out. And I think it was a good attempt. I think the upgrades were the right idea, trying to get your Roaches to just be a little bit better. You know you're going to be playing defense, so if you can reinforce fast enough, but not having that third base, getting that kill just does hurt so very much. And that means that as we head into game 2, I think we might see a very different approach here from eGGz.
That we will. I mean, it's also Glittering Ashes, Titan. It is the biggest map in the pool, which means you either all in the hell out of your opponent, because there's no way who all ins on Glittering Ashes. You know, that is actually a surprisingly common tactic, or really on any big map. Or you try to take this game super late. It's a great map for mutas. We talked about, okay, well, maybe you have mutas that allows you to come back from being down because you can, you know. Glittering Ash is certainly a great map for muta play, and I mean, look, I love ZVZ. Maybe the Roach Wars are not the best, but when we get to late game, when we get to Hydra Lurker Viper versus Hydra Lurker Viper and that insane positioning battle, oh man, I could watch hours and hours and hours of that. At least,
I mean,
at the high level.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to one of the most entertaining Zerg versus Zergs that I remember, you know, Dark versus Rogue, of course, in GSL. In IEM Katowice, Sue versus Serral. It was just Roach versus Roach, but the way that they played it was what made it so interesting and so exciting. And so there's certainly, I think, merit to when Zerg versus Zerg goes late, it becomes a completely different game.
Oh, absolutely. It's it really turns into what people think TVT used to be.
Yeah.
And this is my opportunity to talk about how I don't like TVT. We're just going to drop some shade on that. There we go. The question here, Titan, really is not how can we cast StarCraft, not how can we fill time until eGGz is ready to go, as it sounds like he's ready now. How mad can we make Twitch chat? By just making some rather controversial but true statements, such as you can't look at just the top 2 of any tournament to judge balance.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that'll get me a thread on Reddit right now.
I feel like you could also say one we were talking about earlier is for some reason all the best players seem to choose Zerg.
I mean, like, unironically here, Rainer's Terran took maps off MaxPax's Protoss in EPT Cups. Rainer's Protoss killed Armani in an EPT Cup. I think it was EPT&A on Monday. Or maybe it was EU. So unironically, I think there's some merit, like much like Maru would smack anyone in any race. You know, it's one of those things where I don't know, but I think we've gotten Twitch chat sufficiently mad enough. That really was the goal at the end of things, which means now that we can go and get into our second game, hopefully, of this series. Glittering Ashes, again, it's the map. It's a 1-0 lead for Erik. And Titan, as we're about to get into this, my only question for you, does eGGz tie it up?
And you know what? I'm hoping. We got all 2-0s in Europe. I want some 3-game series. I want some exciting action. So I am praying that eGGz can pull it out.
All right. So eGGz pulling it out. It's going to be a 1-1. Let's see what happens. The Glittering Ashes is the map. And in the bottom left here, in the red, he's up 1. He's doing his build. He is Erik.
And in the top right, from Super Team, trying to tie it back up. And this might be his shot, if he can take it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's eGGz.
He is exceptional. Although I said he's doing his build, but this is a very different build. This was a 14-14, 14-13 gas pool?
Yeah.
So he's got a little... we talked about big maps, Titan, as being this crucible of late game.
And then Erik drops to 14-14, and he's got 6 slings on the way, and he's going to get speed. ZVZ!
Yeah.
Woo!
Good times indeed. We're going to have to see how much this gets done for him, because, of course, speed is not the quickest in this build. Like, if you want to go as fast as possible speed, you're going 13-12. You're going, and then maybe Ling Bane, maybe just Ling.
Yeah.
This has a little bit more of an opener to it. We're going to have to see. I was paying attention to other things. I didn't quite see the total timings on things. We're gonna have to see just how much Erik looks to commit to this, whether this is just a hatch for speedlings or whether there's more to go. But he has only built what 8lings right now. Well, he's only got 8, and he's droning up behind this. So while this is aggression, it's not end of the world aggression where he's trying to end the game right now and say, hey, you know, eggs, quick 2-0. I want to go to the eliminate. I want to go to the decider match. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think the real hard part about trying to be aggressive on such a large map like Glittering Ash is the fact that you got that rush distance. I mean, we saw this was a 14-14, and even with that, eggs taking this fight is not good at all. Even with that, you get across the map and there are already lings out for your opponent. Unfortunately, the micro is really good from Erik, keeps a lot of those lings alive. They will eventually be gotten rid of, but that does allow Erik to catch back up in that drone count, which he was very far behind in because of that opening. But you just saw, by the time they arrived, there were lings out for your opponent. They are in a comfortable position. They almost have queens. It does just, the size of the map exponentially reduces the power of these early attacks.
That it will. Again, yeah, that fight, 8lings, and normally 8lings wouldn't get an incredible amount of years. We got another flood coming across the map from Erik. He's not really committing to this. Commit 1, 8lings. Commit 2. What are we at? 10lings? But what he's trying to do is A, force out a massive wall here from eggs. Done. There we go. He's actually going to force a rewall. Eggs thinks this is a lot more than it is. So you talk about, oh, wow, great. You know, I have an opportunity to drone back up. Well, Erik isn't really committing to this whatsoever. He got 10lings. He has been able to drone out the entire time. He got an overlord from eggs. So eggs is massively supply blocked. He was able to build to make himself not have red letters anymore, but he has 5 overlords on the way because he is so capped at that 36 mark. That 30 overlord is the killer of all Zergs, and eggs falls victim to it here. So at this point, I mean, Erik is just going to snowball his lead, whether he wants to build a lot of roaches aggressively defensively, whether he just wants to drone, and again, 8 roaches are on the way. That supply block right there really may tell the tale of this entire game.
Yeah, that is so massive. And as I said, 8 roaches on the way, and these are most likely going to be aggressive. You don't just build 8 roaches on 2 bases and say, actually, you know what? I want to take a third. I want to get into a macro game, put down a Spire maybe, get into Broodlords and see if he's... No! You're going to go so aggressive. Of course, you're not going to get the Broodlords. That was irony. But the thing is, I don't know if eggs expects this because he's not actually going to see these roaches until they're pretty much outside of his base. He's only going to see them now, and he's taking a third.
Well, Titan, all I can hope is that he knows how to cancel the third and not just let it die this time, because that was a big problem in the last game. Banelings are getting more from even Roach Swarm, but no roaches are on the way. I'm rather worried for this one. Oh, Erik, he gets the surround on top of the queens as well. The wall is forfeit here, and that's the biggest problem. Banelings, though, they're going to get some decent connections here to start. Banelings coming on the backside as well, so these lings are going to go down, but roaches against Banes, if you got a good split, you don't really care. Lings, they're trying to get on top of the Ravagers, do what they can, and you know what? This is Glittering Ashes. Rush distance is a thing. Wait a minute here. Eggs, he pushes the queens off. The Ravagers are kiting backwards, doing what they can, but it looks like the Ling rally is going to be enough for right now. But okay, another Ravager, no, will stay alive. And Erik, he's going to be able to snowball this back.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the eggs is trading around this queen, though, making sure that he could get units while they were just kind of focusing on getting through the health of these queens, who are so very tanky. But as you said, those Baneling connections, clearing up all of the lings for Erik, really allowed eggs to hold on, and now suddenly his third base is up. He has roaches on the map, and Erik is, while ahead in workers, only just now has established his own third. And I feel like if eggs right now has really 2 options. You can either try and push across the map like he's doing, or he could drone back up, and it looks like he wants to try and get a little bit aggressive.
Big news here as well. We're seeing a lot of gases get dropped from eggs. He has his lair done. And with this tempo advantage he has, I mean, he knows there's no lair for Erik. You don't do that attack and also get a lair, at least not for a while. He can go Mutas here if he wants. That would be a really great move to just try to utilize this tempo advantage. But even still, lings are going to find their way on in, so you certainly don't want to drop a Spire now. It will just be confusing, or it will just get scouted.
Yep. That's a full scout there for Erik, which is great information to get when you're kind of in this situation where your attack failed and you're just trying to know, what is my opponent doing? Because now I've given them liberty to kind of do what they want, to sit back, and it's actually going to be Erik as the one who's dropping the Spire. He scouts out, he says, oh, you're not actually adding on any additional tech? Okay, well, I think I have enough to defend, so I'm going to add on my own.
It's really interesting too. I very much expected here to see eGGz capitalize on the lair lead, on everything else, get some upgrades, maybe drop tech as you drone up behind that. But he really hasn't done much with this. He droned up a little. He's tried to put some rather ineffective pressure on the map. But we see the Lings, they flash on the mini map for a second. Meanwhile, Erik is finding effective pressure on the other side of the map. Lings run in, they knock down a queen, which means less transfuses, less injects is the most important thing. 3-4 workers go down as Lings find their way into the main base as well. And sure, eGGz, he's trying to get something done on the other side of the map. But if he snipes 2 queens, if Erik does snipes 2 queens, 6 drones, and it looks like it may even be more, yeah, this is far more impactful. This is a wonderful way for Erik. If anyone was worried that Erik was out of the game, if he'd found himself in a deficit, well, he just killed 9 workers. He killed a queen, which means less anti-air, and his Spire is done. He's going to be able to get about 10 mutas, and there is not going to be a lot to knock these things down.
Yeah, there are no spores. I mean, there's no information right now for eGGz. He has actually no idea what the tech is for his opponent. He hasn't been able to sneak Lings in. Finally, an Overseer is going to fly over the main, and it should see the Mutalisk pop, unless this rally is really superb, but sees the Mutalisk, and that's going to be the first indication for eGGz that there are air units out on the map. So we're going to need to see, we're going to need to see the spores now. He's actually just pushing across the map, and you're pushing into mutas. You don't even have a massive army advantage. This is such a risky play.
That it is. I mean, you gotta, though. You gotta say, look, I have roaches here. I gotta do something, right? Buy myself time to have some anti-air. And sometimes you can find an opening where your opponent doesn't have enough at home, and sure, mutas are good in the sky, but you just have too much HP. You run through it. That is not the case in this game, as the 4 workers in total will go down. The roaches are dying. eGGz at least is not making the mistake of saying, well, I need to keep making something happening. So I'm going to go and I'm going to push my roaches across the map, and I'm going to push roaches across the map, and I'm going to sacrifice them for time, which fair. But then your resources lost account, it massively spirals out of control, and it's not like you're in a wonderful work. Look at this, 49 workers to 67. It really is not good there. And eGGz is supply blocked as well. His pound of flesh has been removed from the map. All the overlords that exist, they're gonna get cleared out pretty heavily by all these mutas. And then you have no map vision, you have no supply, you have no money. You have hope?
I mean, listen, if TV shows have taught me anything, the power of hope and friendship is enough to overcome any obstacle. But I don't think that's true in StarCraft 2. Really, we're just waiting to see what the response is going to be. And for eGGz, I think it's just, all right, I'm going to get enough defenses that these Mutalisks won't be able to find damage. I'm going to continue to build up my Roach Ball so I don't die on the ground. And then he's potentially going to look for this.
Oh, I love it.
I was going to say that eGGz will look for, tunneling claws roach damage, but look at this. Erik says, you don't need that upgrade. You can just dropper lord your roaches right into the main, and guess what? He has pneumaticized Carapace. And that means that these dropper lords move exceptionally quick.
Now, Titan, can you say that 5 times fast for me, please? Pneumatized Carapace. Roaches into the main base, though. That's like 16 roaches, which means this anti-air is gone. Actually, the lair is under threat here. That's going to be a bit of a problem. The queens are not really here just yet. There's only 2 of them. I don't know why the mutas are being a little reticent to fight that. There is truly no anti-air, but the roaches, they run away. They say, yes, the pneumatized Carapace is here to play, and they're going to drop into the natural. Roaches run by as well. Roaches say, hey, you know what? Drones can burrow, and that's going to be nice. Spore is actually going to kill a roach. Ooh. That's got to be a first in world history. Spores kill roaches, but it's fine as the queens are out of position. Ooh, but even still, eGGz has a little too much here, and he will be able to force his opponent back.
Yeah, I think it does show, of course, the Titan Claws. The upgrade was indicated on the units, but I think this was a bit of an overextension by Erik. Of course, he gets 7 drones is good. You're putting your opponent even further behind than they already were, as you're just catching the reinforcements here. eGGz trying to clean up as much as he can. Burrows, but an Overseer is around, so really that burrow not going to do too much. You can still see them. They're just now moving underground.
You got to remember, 4 mutas died of that engagement too, so there's only 7.
Oh.
Which is not really a lot when we're talking about roach play, but Erik says, yes, you left. You tried to be active on the map. You burrowed slowly across the map, and it hurts me just how slow burrow movement is now. I remember the glory days of them zooming. This is a dead lair. The lair is dead, Titan, and that's a problem. The roaches, they're going to try to get a counterattack on the other side. A 4th base will die, and roaches in the main base here as well. The game's going absolutely crazy. It's going to be roaches all the way down, but Titan, there are more roaches for Erik, so he's going to be able to go roaches all the way down faster. I don't know. We're losing the metaphor here. It's not really working, but I would rather lose a fourth base than losing a lair.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real story here is in the soup. We have some nice alphabet soup, and it's spelling out the fact that Erik is looking to take a pretty quick 2-0 victory. I mean, he just has more stuff, and despite eggs, I think tunneling claws, bro, roaches, hey, that's a good idea if you want to harass, but also you need to do that on even supply. You need to do that when you are, when you're on equal footing with your opponent, so that you're not actually giving up units that you need for defense just to try and find harassment damage, and then Erik just cleans that up because he has so much that he can attack and defend at the same time.
Now, Titan, I would like you to do some math, and I know, wise people say you never do math on stream. Never do math when you're casting. It doesn't work out. But is 200 over 138, is that greater than 1?
Listen, I didn't take calculus in high school for no reason. And Bayo, I'm going to have to say that it is.
So therefore, 200 is greater. That means there's more supply. Excellent. That's the good information here, as that is a sledgehammer of roaches. They're going to find the third base. Biles it all down. There we go. That shows the true might of a lot of supply. The drop in the main base causing some problems here as well. We can see eGGz not even really paying attention to it. He says, look, I need to make sure I know what's happening right here. But Erik, on the flip side, I love this new overlay. We can see he understands this fight is won for the most part, so he toggles to the main base to make sure these roaches are killing what they need to. And now it is a literal one-base Zerg. And eGGz, he's going to try to hatch, but unfortunately, there's not enough cocoons available in this game. Not enough larvae to properly be the eggs that he requires to hatch back out. And that's a stretch. That's a reach. What's also a reach is eGGz winning this game. I don't really know what we're supposed to see happening anymore, Titan.
Yeah, well, it's attempting to fight, but right now you're so far down. I mean, some nice biles here from eGGz, but as much as you can dodge, there are just more roaches coming across the map than you can ever deal with. As, honestly, I'm impressed by how well eGGz has been able to fight, considering how much of an advantage Erik had. But everything is falling, everything is dying, and now the mutas are going to come back in to try and clean it all up. GG is going to be called, and that's Erik getting a